All right, it is the top of the hour, so we are going to go ahead and get started with our Children's Spring 2022 previews. We are so excited to have everybody here. I am Mel Schuett. As you can see on this slide here, I'm the marketing manager focusing on our school and library field. Danny, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I would. My name is Daniel Tushai. You can call me Danny. I'm an account executive at the Quarto Group, and I focus sales primarily in the library and education market. So before we dive in, I always like to have this slide up for any of my presentations to any of my accounts, just showing who Quarto is, who Quarto Kids actually is. By imprint. It seems that a lot of the time the imprints are very recognizable to a lot of my accounts, a lot of my collection development teams that I work with. So you'll see Francis Lincoln, Rockport, QEB, newer ones like Happy Yak. So they're all in this Quarto Kids family here.
And as you can see, we are swimming in awards, and we couldn't be more grateful to every single person on this call who has helped us get to this point. You've been using these books in your classrooms and recommending them for regional awards and supporting us through some really fun Twitter competitions to get our books into the final brackets. So thank you so much to everyone for getting us to this point. I'm also going to quickly touch on what's hot this fall before we dive into spring. And in an effort to positively spin the shipping kerfuffles we've all been experiencing, I'm excited to say we still have a lot of stuff publishing this fall and winter that you should have on your radar, including Quarto Kids, which received a starred review from Kirkus, Own Your Period, which published yesterday here in the States to positive reviews from Kirkus, Library Journal, and Booklist, and Only in America, which is the perfect travel companion whether you're leaving the house or stuck on the couch. Any questions about our fall offerings, please don't hesitate to ask myself or Danny.
So we will dive into the presentation now, and we've split Spring 2022 into different sections: new and continuing series, general nonfiction, fiction, and STEAM. So we're starting off with new and continuing series, and the first one up, Mel, you're controlling the presentation here. So we have the Quarto Group is partnering with digital manga and comic book brand Saturday AM for a very robust publishing program of manga-inspired comics featuring greater diversity and inclusion to be published under the art and design imprint Rockport Publishers, which is based in our Beverly, Massachusetts office, showcasing creators from across the globe, from Senegal, New Zealand, Canada, Hungary even. They've centered more BIPOC, LGBTQ plus characters in their work, and this new style of manga really elevates these voices who rarely appear in traditional manga narratives. We do have press releases that will be going out soon, a wider releases to all of our accounts, all of our contributors and partners to bring Saturday AM to the forefront. And really, manga in general really has become the heart of pop culture, and it's really a visual language for young readers around the world. These books will have exclusive new art throughout, exclusive new storytelling, and they'll all exist in a multiverse where all the stories are connected for a bigger storytelling experience. Excuse me. Apple Black, Hammer, and Saigami will be the first three series published with Quarto for spring 2022. And as always, we must talk about Quarto's and Francis Lincoln Children's specifically, their best-selling series, Little People, Big Dreams. So at 88 hardcover originals publishing through next August and really still going strong, the young readers will discover the lives of all these outstanding people, designers, artists, authors, activists, athletes even. All of them achieved very great things in their lives, incredible things, but each of them began life as a child with a dream. So told as a story throughout with facts, historical timelines, historical photos in the back of each book. The series really celebrates triumph over adversity through the eyes of history's favorite characters. We have over 3 million copies sold for the series. It really continues to grow. It's expanding both in terms of who we're covering, both historical and contemporary figures, to different formats. So we have the hardcovers, which are doing very well in library and education. We've introduced board books, journals, activity books, box sets, even for mostly for the gift market, and even paper doll gift sets. So we also provide the I skipped a slide there, but it's okay. You don't need to move it here, Mel. We have our Little People Big Dreams website. We provide all the ancillary material such as teachers' guides, bookmarks, coloring activity sheets for further learning. Helps educators, teachers specifically, take the learning to the next level with their classrooms, with their students. So now older readers dive deeper into the world of Little People Big Dreams with this treasury featuring 50 historical figures, contemporary figures from the series. The collection is complete with new in-depth stories, facts, and different figures. And like I said, historical and contemporary figures are covered, including from the very beginning of the series, Frida Kahlo, Coco Chanel, more recently, David Attenborough, Greta Thunberg, Elton John, and many, many more. Next up, we have Happy Yak. So I'm going to present a couple series from Happy Yak. This is Quarto's newest children's imprint that publishes pre-K books, board books, playful picture books, accessible nonfiction, really from birth to about age 7. So all these books are very bright, very accessible, very detailed, eye-catching designs, contemporary illustrations, and very engaging and entertaining text. The publisher at Happy Yak really sets the focus on the latest trends. They offer a strong seasonal offering, so the books are really perfect for small kids with very big personalities. Each series is supported by core developmental benefits as well. So as we go through, the first series we have here is My World in 100 Words. It is a series of board books that helps children ages birth to 3 boost their vocabulary, engage with the world around them, and become familiar with different specific subjects. So each book explores a different theme, so starting kindergarten, for example, the holidays like Christmas and Halloween, and the series will continue this spring in 2022 with an outdoor book, My Garden. Then we have the Layer by Layer series of interactive board books, introducing young readers to the classics. They are die cuts throughout. They feature bright contemporary illustrations. The illustrations expand as each new layer is revealed. The series is continuing with The Little Mermaid and Pinocchio for spring 2022. And then we have a new author I'd like to highlight for Happy Yak, Mike Henson. He is a new collaborator with Quarto and Happy Yak specifically. He grew up in South Africa and from a very early age really always loved to draw. He now lives in Hampshire in the UK with his wife and 3 kids who provide him with daily inspiration for his stories. Mike enjoys writing songs and children's stories, and he's authored several new titles for us, standalones as well as series for the spring season. We have What a Stink, a board book about a bunch of animals in an elevator with a very sneaky problem. I'm sure you can figure that out based on the description. So this one has pullouts, sliders, and different flaps. All the Nonsense in My Teeth is a dreamlike story about teeth brushing. I'm sure educators, parents, guardians have been down that road with kids in the past, whether it be an easy experience brushing your teeth or a particularly difficult time for children. So really the narrative story really takes the imagination way out there. The Little Mouse Learns series is a collection of 4 first concepts books featuring mice as the characters. The first 4 will be colors, opposites, numbers, and shapes as the concepts discussed for each book. Then we have on the next slide, What is Chick Going to Do? What is Puppy Going to Do? These are the latest titles from the Lift the Flap series, books with interactive flaps, which are perfect for reading with the youngest of children. And then we have the last series here. It's Time 4. This features 3 board books. The format has ribbon pull tabs, sliders which reveal extended scenes for each story towards the end of each book. Bath Time Little Piglet introduces children to the daily routine of bath time. Thank You Little Rabbit focuses on the concepts of kindness and friendship. And Bedtime Little Bear ends the day with stories about bedtime. And then switching gears a bit to a different imprint, but still highlighting a continuing series, we have the ABC for Me series from Walter Foster Jr. So these are very endearing illustrations, mindful concepts. This series really pairs each letter of the alphabet with words that promote big dreams and healthy living. based on the topics. We have 12 original board books in the series, with Bedtime and The World Around Me being the latest to publish in 2022. Bedtime provides an alphabet of ways to get kids to really cooperate as they're getting ready for bed. And The World Around Me, readers will explore 26 natural and human wonders of the world from around the globe, from A to Z. And Walter Foster Jr. is now also publishing we're starting with 2 titles a season, I believe. The original board books will be in paperback now for our library and education accounts.
All right, so if there's one thing that we all know about Quarto, other than the Little People Big Dream series, it's that we love animal nonfiction. And our spring lineup is looking ferocious, with several titles we think will educate and amuse, starting with Kaleidoscope of Dinosaurs and Prehistoric Life. Do you think dinosaurs were all brown, green, and scaly? Think again. On a kaleidoscope journey into the technicolor world of dinosaurs and other prehistoric beasts as they really may have looked. Paleo artist and author Greer Stothers reimagines the dinosaurs and their prehistoric peers using fossils and the examples of living species to bring this often misrepresented world to life. This book is packed full of fascinating questions like, what colors could dinosaurs' feathers have been? Would a snow-dwelling dino have been a brilliant white? What could mutant dinosaurs have looked like? As well as the dinos, this book takes a look at other extinct animals, shows how animals from the Ice Age might have looked, and explores how clues about long-dead creatures can be discovered from art by the prehistoric peoples who encountered them. Animal BFFs uncovers some unlikely friendships from around the world of animals and discovers how creatures get through every day with a little help from their friends. The animal kingdom is full of odd couples that prove that sometimes it's better to be together, like the rhino and the African oxpecker, the coyote and the badger, and the crocodile and the plover bird. This funny and informative book is a great way to teach your kids about some of the more interesting partnerships in the natural world with pop-out fact boxes and hilarious illustrations. Just look at that cute little sloth. Meet the National Animals is a playful and humorous look at the animals all around the world who represent their countries. Filled with fascinating facts about each animal and country, the text also touches gently on conservation issues related to each animal and their habitats. Featuring over 35 amazing animals, from the mystical Scottish unicorn to China's much-loved giant panda and the wonderful but extinct dodo from Mauritius. The illustrations include a playful, charming narrative along the bottom of each spread, which sees Brown Bear gradually bringing all the animals together as they travel the world, celebrating each country as they go. And you can see them along the bottom there, and the end is pretty darn cute. Built by Animals shows children that the future of architecture can be inspired by and be respectful of nature. Meet over 26 animals behind the most amazing building tech, humorously brought to life by Jeji Yoon and wittingly and expertly explained by WWF educator Christian Dorian. From the bee's honeycomb shape that strengthens structures to termites that build their nests with natural aircon, these creatures did it first. And at the end of the book, find out who wins big at the Animal Builder Awards. Will it be the prairie dog, the peacock, the beaver, or the firefly? With lyrical text and enchanting illustrations, It Starts With a Bee takes readers on a beautiful cycle of life journey through the seasons as they follow a busy bee pollinating a wild garden. Winter, spring, summer, and fall, the bee tends to the flowers and plants. As the seasons change and the garden blooms into a wildlife wonderland, the bee is joined by well-loved mini beasts and creatures, worms, beetles, spiders, and mice, who make the wild garden their home. A rhyming poem builds page by page, echoing the life the bee brings to the garden. Beautiful fold-out illustrations will transport readers into the world of the bee as it navigates the flowers and plants of the garden. Did you know that birds navigate by invisible pathways in the sky, that they can call to each other in thousands of different ways, and that they can be as big as a car or as small as a little finger? The Secret Life of Bees is a collection of delightful stories and engaging facts, which imparts a love of birds and of nature on the next generation, inspiring them to look after the world around them. Let much-traveled Speedy the Swift guide you through this beautiful first guide to bird life around the globe. Learn about nest building and bird babies, feathers and beaks, flying journeys, bird calls, really unusual looking birds, and ways to spot birds and help them near where you live. Read some beautiful bird folklore stories from around the planet, too. Speedy has learned much on her travels, and she'll be a great guide for young readers, perhaps inspiring them to develop a love of birds themselves. The Nature Heroes series focuses on a group of friends who are passionate about nature and the great outdoors. Each book features a different child who has a favorite topic that they are fascinated by. Bella Loves Bugs tells the story of a day in the life of a girl who is passionate about bugs as she goes off to forest school, where she has many creepy crawly adventures with her fellow nature heroes. Billy Loves Birds tells the fact-filled story of a day in the life of Billy, a budding young naturalist who is wild about birds of all kinds. Ava Loves Animals and Pedro Loves the Planet are up next later next year. It's a mouthful. In the Really Wild Family series, based on the everyday adventures of wild animals, discover what the littlest members of the family get up to. Through their eyes, we will explore the habitats, family dynamics, and how they play, grow, and survive as a family. In Little Bee, meet Little Bee, who is super excited to introduce us to her family and explore the nest together, including things like what pollination is, who the queen bee is, how honeybees talk to each other, and more. In Little Lion, celebrate just how extraordinary lions are and receive a reminder that it is up to us to care for our planet and its creatures. These adorable stories are followed by a fun factivity section packed with craft projects, case studies, and a quiz section at the back of the book, so you can put everything you have learned about these animals and their families to the test. Back over to Danny.
Thank you, Mel. I'm sorry, I was actually looking at the chat section there. So
I can see it's blowing up.
I got caught off guard. I forgot to take a look at when you were ending your section there. So we're shifting gears a little bit to general nonfiction. And the first title up we have is Young Oracle Tarot. This is a treasury of all things tarot for readers ages 10 and up, and provides fascinating in-depth insight into its history, secrets, and practice. So features of the book itself, it is a foil detailed cover, complete with a ribbon marker, stunning illustrations throughout. It does reveal for young oracles in training what tarot is exactly, how to read the cards for themselves and for others that they're reading with, and how an ancient practice like this can be used for self-reflection, self-care, problem solving even, and other like topics. The book includes, again, a timeline of tarot through the ages, examples of how today's young readers can make the most of tarot, and it even includes a glossary of terms, which is incredibly important for a topic like this. Helps kids understand more in depth what they're reading about. Young Oracle Tarot continues a wide-eyed commitment to publishing mind, body, spirit titles for younger readers. They did publish Secret of the Witch back in August 2020. Then we have the Little Homesteader series. This is a series that offers nature-based crafts, baking recipes, outdoor garden projects in a celebration of the self-sufficient, the eco-friendly lifestyle of homesteading. Families looking for this type of crafting, this type of outdoor work, and are looking to get away from phones, iPads, computer screens, what have you. They're really going to adore this collection, again, of cooking, crafting, outdoor gardening projects. All the activities are broken down into step-by-step instructions. They're very clearly explained throughout, and they are accompanied by detailed illustrations. The gardening and the planting activities specifically, they can suit any space. They will work well. The projects will work well equally on windowsills, smaller spaces indoors, as well as in bigger gardens. As we progress through the season, from March through September, we're going to be publishing all 4 seasons. Spring, summer, fall, winter, in that order, will be published for the series. And the imprint, Ivy Kids, that publishes these titles, they are committed across all of their titles that they publish to sustainable publishing, and will locally print the books on 100% recycled paper. That means anywhere in the world that this is available, they will be printing in that part of the world. We will have ours in, I believe, a printer we have in the Midwest to reach our warehouse quicker and to you guys quicker. Then we have next up is What Are You Doing Today, Mother Nature? This is an illustrated children's collection of stories from nature, which show the changing of the seasons all around the world. There are 48 story spreads that tell single stories of animals in nature from each month of the year, showing how the changing of the seasons take place around the world, promoting international sense of the weather, what the weather's like in different parts of the world, the seasons, the cycles of nature, from very large events to very small events. This is a perfect read to read aloud at bedtime, but I think it's just as important. It's a very good introduction to any key natural history topics that are discussed in the classroom. Any educators on the call or around the country that are interested in introducing this type of information, nature, history of nature, I think this will be a very good introduction. So then we have a newer series stemming from the Only in America title that Mel brought up in the What's Hot this fall. So this Only in California. It's filled with amazing facts, weird, wacky facts. It is the first in a new series of state-by-state guides for young readers. So in this case, exploring exactly what makes the Golden State so special, and in the future, what makes every state so special. So you have the bright lights of Los Angeles, the majestic redwood forests, everything really in between, taking a deep dive into what makes California so great. There are full bleed illustrations throughout. They do capture a sense of place with pull-out artwork that zoom in on the more fascinating facts. Again, locations are throughout the state. You have San Francisco, LA, redwood forests, as I mentioned, Lake Tahoe, Central Valley. Each book in the series in general, they will have weird, wacky facts, historical timelines, and they drill all the way down to local sports, museums, amusement parks, cultural events around the state. And Wide Eyed is committed to publishing, I believe, two to three titles a year, if not the season. And we will follow California up with Texas, Florida, and New York in the coming seasons. And this Only in California, it is its own series, but it is part of the wider 50-state series. You can see the back list of titles in this slide here. Very wide array of consumable activity books, as well as non-consumable facts about the United States, told in a different setting. You have a more generalized 50-state series, adventures around the 50 states, and national parks of the 50 states. The next section we are presenting is called Human Stories. So we wrapped up with general nonfiction. We shift gears to this specific type of nonfiction. We like to call human stories. And we have 3 titles here pubbing this spring that I'd like to check out. The first one up, My Own Way, is a poem and a picture book that introduces young kids to gender diversity. So small children these days are often asked to choose between a gendered binary, boy or girl, if it's even by a color, pink or blue. This picture book specifically breaks through beyond the stereotypes and really encourages the reader to follow their own way. That's the title. There are vibrant illustrations and concise poetic text throughout. It is a very powerful book, really teaching young kids that there are no limits really what they can do, what they can be even. They are unique. So it is translated actually from an original Portuguese publication by award-winning transgender poet Jay Hulme. And at its core, My Own Way really is an important, very timely celebration of identity, diversity, being different, and respect. And the last title here, we have The World Full of Journeys and Migrations. So The World Full of series in general is a collection of hardcover story treasures. That's how it started out. Readers will discover folktales from all around the world, or be introduced to some of the world's best-loved writers. In 2 cases, we have the stories of Charles Dickens, stories of William Shakespeare. A World Full of Journeys and Migrations takes a bit of a step away from that traditional storytelling. It is an introduction to the history of human migration. So from the very first people to leave home and travel across the world, right up to the journeys of today, the immigration issues of today. This book will really help young readers and teach them that really every single journey has a capacity to change the world. important questions that are discussed throughout. The very first one: why do people migrate in the first place? Who were the first travelers in history? Where will we be going to next as humans? So it really helps readers dive deep into the topic of immigration in classroom and home discussions as well. This includes a discussion on what makes a brighter future from one person to the next. What is a brighter future in the eyes of one person over to the next person? Journeys and Migrations is one of two titles in this series, publishing in spring 22. The other is A World Full of Nature Stories, which Mel is going to present a little later on in the presentation. I'm sorry, there's one more title. The final title in this section is Here and Queer from Francis Lincoln Kids. Here and Queer is a book about living your best queer life, written with girls specifically in mind. So this is a very inclusive guide, really designed for all cis and trans women, as well as non-binary individuals. And it helps these readers be the strongest, the proudest, really the happiest versions of themselves. The author is a YouTuber named Rowan Ellis. She uses her personal experience to take readers through the queer life, everything from coming out right through finding friendships and celebrating pride as a whole. There are also guest essays, guest contributors from across the LGBTQ plus spectrum, lending their expertise, lending their advice and their experiences to Here and Queer. And the book also features chapters on self-expression, sex and romance, self-care, the history of queer history and activism. And there is also a section at the back of the book that gives advice on how to help readers find extra support if needed. So I think a very all-encompassing view at what it is to be queer, and in a larger way, understanding the LGBTQ plus community. And that wraps up the human stories section. Mel, you're up.
Excellent. We're going to move on to another sort of bread and butter topic for Quarto, which is STEAM. Inspired by environmental activist Rob Greenfield, Zero Waste Kids teaches through projects and activities how to reduce, reuse, and recycle at home, school, and in your communities. Zero waste living is by far one of the biggest environmental movements of today, and it's an excellent opportunity to help children understand the world they live in and inspire them to start living in a more sustainable way. Of all the environmental problems we face, trash is one that is easiest to understand because it's very visual. And Zero Waste Kids includes projects like conducting household trash audits, composting food scraps, and swapping disposable shopping bags and lunch boxes for reusable zero waste options. Leading by example, the author, Rob Greenfield, is donating all of his proceeds from the book to environmental nonprofit organizations. Zero Waste Kids is every kid's go-to guide for making a difference. With Recycle and Play, learn how to turn items you already have around the house into fun, engaging, and enriching activities for young learners. In this book, created by hugely popular Instagrammer Hello Wonderful Co., you'll find tips on how to extend play and learning for each project, as well as helpful hints to engage your kids to come up with fun additions and extensions of their own. Playful learning at home doesn't have to require expensive specialized toys and resources. Each activity in Recycle and Play uses inexpensive materials like cardboard, paper tubes, plastic bottles, and egg cartons, materials that might have already been on their way to the landfill, and offers a clear, thoughtful invitation for hours of sensory play at home while reinforcing the importance of reducing waste to benefit the earth. And Agnes Sue, who's the author, is actually running a pre-order campaign at the moment. So you should definitely check out at Hello Wonderful Co. on Instagram if you'd like some really cool opportunities to win some really cool prizes. Professor Figgy's Weather and Climate Science Lab for Kids provides invaluable weekly projects and experiences, both inside and outside the home, to explore the fascinating, ever-changing, and universal subject of the weather. As champion of educational fun, Jim Noonan, aka Professor Figgy, guides you through the topics of weather and climate through fun and easy activities. He also teaches the importance of affecting change in the world through the lens of our climate's uncertain future. With a foreword by do-it-yourself trailblazer Martha Stewart, that's right, Martha Stewart, This comprehensive hands-on weather and climate learning resource collects captivating activities covering subjects like the atmosphere, sun and clouds, rain and wind, severe weather, and pollution and climate change. Lastly, but not leastly, if that's a word, on the STEAM list, we have Math for Kids. And this is actually the first book in the Kitchen Pantry Scientist series that is not written by the Kitchen Pantry scientist Liz Heinecke. Math for Kids is the fourth book in the Kitchen Pantry Scientist series and brings math to life through biography and creative engagement. Unfortunately, I don't have any finished interiors to show you, but this book will follow the same format as its predecessors, Biology for Kids, Chemistry for Kids, and Physics for Kids. This engaging guide offers a series of snapshots of 25 mathematicians from ancient history through today, paired with related hands-on activities perfect for a kitchen or a classroom. Each lab tells a story of a mathematician along with some background about the importance of their work and a description of where it is still being used or reflected in today's world, which I think really sets it apart. A step-by-step illustrated game or activity paired with each story offers kids an opportunity to engage directly with concepts the mathematicians pursued or are working on today. Experiments range from very simple projects using materials at home to more complicated ones that require a few inexpensive items you can purchase online. With this fascinating hands-on exploration of the history of mathematics, inspire the next generation of great mathematicians. All right, and our last main category today is fiction, and we're going to start with the super sweet story of Wolf Girl. Sophie doesn't know how to fit in. She tries to talk at school, but the words get stuck in her throat, and everyone laughs and whispers behind her back. But one day, an extraordinary thing happens. Sophie is whisked away to a magical snowy land where she meets a wolf and her cub. The unlikely trio roll, run, and howl together, playing happily in the snow. Sophie has found friends and nothing can ruin her day, until a big angry bear appears. But Sophie finally finds her voice and finds the courage she's been looking for all along. I spoke through that whole thing, so here are some spreads. So cute. And if you're into case wraps and end papers, this one has both and they're stunning. Featuring beautiful, emotive illustrations, Blue Badger is the first story in a series of picture books about a befuddled, lovable badger and his search for happiness, friends, and love. Badger is feeling sad. He can't sleep. He asks the other animals one by one, am I white and black, or am I black and white? He speaks to several other animals, from zebra to panda to penguin to skunk, as he tries to find out who he is. But along his journey, he discovers that it doesn't matter whether he's black or white, just as long as he is kind. Featuring wry wit, deadpan humor, and a heartwarming ending, Blue Badger will endear himself to readers big and small, while touching gently on themes of sadness and identity. As Danny mentioned, we're circling back around to a world full of nature stories. This series is a collection of beautiful hardback story treasuries. And you can discover folktales from all around the world or be introduced to some of the world's best loved writers with these stunning gift books. In a world full of nature stories, readers embark on a journey to learn about 50 folktales from home and legends and myths from distant lands to commemorate the animals, plants, and the changing seasons that make Earth so beautiful. The Spring Rabbit is a stunning origin story of the Easter Bunny. At the end of winter, a girl named Spring awakes from her slumber in the snow. She travels through the forest and finds a little bird who has fallen from a tree. The bird is so cold and weak that Spring can hardly hear its heartbeat, so she turns it into a rabbit with thick, soft fur so it will be warm. To show their gratitude, birds gather eggs, which Rabbit collects in a beautiful basket. Spring tells Rabbit to give them to the children so that they will know spring is here. Beautifully illustrated by Christopher Core, which you can see through a lot of our books, and printed with fluorescent yellow throughout. And then the last title I'm going to present before I turn it back over to Danny is another Ivy Kids title. That's our sustainable imprint, The Fairy Garden. The Fairy Garden is a delightful story of a young girl who finds fairies in her garden who deliver a message to her about protecting their habitat. Mimi was a perfectly ordinary girl who lived in a perfectly ordinary house. She had toys to play with, a little brother who wasn't too annoying, and cakes on her birthdays. Mimi didn't want many things, But there was one thing she wanted so very much, indeed, and that was to see a fairy in her garden. Poor Mimi spends hours and hours making her fairy garden completely perfect, but the fairies just won't come. Whatever could she be doing wrong? Just when she's given up all hope, some twinkling lights appear. They're here, and they are bringing an important message. Contains activities for readers to make their own fairy garden, a hugely popular activity which is yet to be explored by a picture book, as well as practical crafts and planting tips. And now it's back over to Danny.
Thank you, Mel. So I'm going to continue on with the fiction section with An Artist's Eye. So this is a very magical story about the power of imagination and discovering that our individual perspectives make us all artists, and really no two artists' eyes are the same. The story follows Joe as he journeys through the world of color and creativity in an empowering story of confidence and imagination. He really wants to see like an artist, so he tries as hard as he can to see the things the way the other character in the story, Mo, who is the artist, does. And when he starts to use his imagination, he realizes that the things that he can dream are completely unique. So Mo teaches Joe to trust his own eyes and to see like an artist. And then we have, in the follow-up to A Little Bit Different and A Little Bit of Courage, the Ploofers are back for a very heartwarming story and exploration of self-awareness and respect in A Little Bit of Respect. So the Ploofers in this story are visiting a new island and are excited to meet the residents. So one islander, though, really singles out the main character in the series, the little one, as an adorable cutie pie, which the little one isn't really happy about and is kind of frustrated with the way he's being treated and he's being perceived. A little bit marginalized almost. So a little bit of respect picks up right where courage left off, with a powerful message about the importance of self-respect, respecting others as well. And we really think this book will really resonate with kids and adults alike. Respect, courage, being different, understanding what diversity is. In the story, or in the background of the story about Ploofers, has been really well received across library and education channel. The Dot and Duck series is a collection of funny stories detailing the adventures of these two best friends. So Dot and Duck are back this time around in How Messy, as the charming the duo, the comedy act, are off on vacation this time. So Dot and Duck, they are best friends, but Dot hates mess and Duck hates being tidy. Duck leaves the bed unmade, the cupboards are wide open, breakfast is everywhere when Duck makes Dot pancakes. So when they go out on vacation, when they're at the beach, Dot carefully lays out her towel and picnic. What does Duck do? Digs a hole, covering everything with sand. So messy, how messy, as per the title. So as you see in the spreads here, How Messy is a simple yet very hilarious story, very funny story with a touching ending and an important message about accepting differences and learning to compromise. It kind of has a little bit of an Odd Couple feel to it in a children's picture book. Next up, we have from the fantastic author-illustrator duo behind Poems Aloud, published a few seasons back. Poet Joseph Colo, illustrator Daniel Gray Barnett, comes another compendium of poetry to read out loud and make readers smile. So Smile Out Loud is a book to help kids build their confidence reading poems aloud in front of a classroom setting, at home in front of parents or siblings, and expressing and manifesting happiness and joy, both for themselves and the audiences they choose to read to. So there are 20 poems throughout the book designed to be read aloud to project happiness. Sometimes they can make somebody laugh, cheer others up. Some are odes, some can be said as personal mantras, or really just poems full of words that readers can't help but smile when they hear them. This book is for any child who really wants to build their confidence. Again, in front of in a classroom setting, if they're reading in front of their fellow students. It really will show kids how speaking a poem aloud has a certain magic to it, almost like reading a spell. So I think it will be very well received, as Holmes Aloud was in Joseph Colo's first title in the series. A Quoca for the Queen. This is a very funny picture book which teaches the joys of giving and making other people happy. But I guess before I go any further, what is a quokka, right? For those who aren't familiar, it is a small macropod, about the size of like a house cat or a small dog. It shares traits specific to other marsupials in the macropod family, specifically wallabies. They're herbivores and they are mainly nocturnal. So the picture book tells the story of when the Queen of England gets a quokka all the way from Australia for her birthday. And this small new arrival helps her discover the joy of giving gifts. The quokka really quickly makes an impression on the Queen. She decides to do something different. With the help of the quokka, she redistributes her presents to anybody they can think of in the Queen's palace and beyond, family, friends, whatnot. Quokkas in general, to give an understanding of how far they actually are from the Queen of England, they're found on some smaller islands in Australia, off the coast of Western Australia, particularly Rottnest Island, just west of the city of Perth. So I think it's a very, very different, I think, approach to understanding different animals from around the world, told in a picture book format. And I think kids will really enjoy learning about a brand new animal. I personally did not know what a quokka was, so I made sure to get educated before I presented the title. I think it'll be very, very well received for classroom read alouds, as well as story time at home with parents and guardians. Next up in the section is Never Brush a Bear, which is, I guess, incredibly good advice. This is a very amusing story about a very determined young pet stylist named Herschel, who makes it his mission to brush a bear. So Herschel is very adventurous. He's a very ambitious pet stylist who wants to style an animal he's never worked with before. He's a head stylist, a pet pamperer extraordinaire. He dreams of awards and recognitions for his work in styling all creatures in all different shapes and sizes. But as it says in the story, a bear's not a pet, and brushing a bear is something he should forget. But he doesn't. And the adventure really begins there on how he can possibly style a bear while keeping it calm and docile. So a very humorous story for younger readers. And last but certainly not least, we have A New Friend. So this is the next book in the one book, two stories format. So this is a very innovative format for Quarto. We have two books in this story, two books in this package, telling two different stories that are bound together. So A New Friend is a heartwarming tale of a new friendship made at school, told from two different perspectives. So the first story follows Joe on his first day at school, and the other shows May on her quest to make friends with the new kid. So the stories can also be read side by side, and as spreads from each book complement each other, they're also linked with corresponding pages. The final spread at the back of the book reveals a shared ending in which Joe and May are united in the playground. It is a very uplifting tale of overcoming fears. I think it's a very common theme that younger students have, whether they're going to school for the first time in pre-K, kindergarten, first grade even, or they're going to school in a new town, in a new part of the world. They're struggling to make new friends, overcoming challenges. I think this will be very well received in library and education. We'll Be Together Again was the first title in this format, which told the tale of a girl and her grandfather communicating with each other from long distances. And that wraps up the fiction section, and Mel's going to bring us home with Quarto STEAM, Kids Cast, and Quarto Classroom.
I am going to bring us home. And it looks like we've got quite a few notes in the chat, Danny. So if you want to take a look at that while I bring us home, that would be fantastic.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've been jotting some down while you were presenting, so I'll continue doing it.
So we've got a couple of really cool initiatives here that I just wanted to briefly mention. Hopefully you've heard of some of them. We have Quarto Kids Cast, which is our in-house podcast where we talk to authors and illustrators about how they come up with the stories that you read about in your favorite books. We've had some amazing guests, Tiffany Jewell, who this book is anti-racist, Jamia Wilson, who's written a whole slew of books, including this book is Feminist this past year. Lots of great guests and just lots of great insight into these books. We also have Quarto Classroom, which is an initiative we started during the COVID times, where we basically have our creators put together lesson plans for your students. The lesson plans are usually 20 to 25 minutes long. There's always a downloadable, there's a video portion, basically everything you need to engage children in a lesson plan that is hopefully tangential to what you are currently working on with them. We also have so many educator guides. We've got educator guides, we've got unit guides, activity kits, and a ton more on our website under our downloadable resources page. I wanted to make sure I just threw a quick shout out to that. And last but not least, we have Quarto STEAM Club. Anyone interested in joining Quarto STEAM Club should give me a call. It basically is a monthly subscription where we send out some really cool STEAM titles and activities to our followers. And I think that's it for this part of the presentation. Here are the millions of ways that you can follow us and get in touch with us, but I want to focus on your questions. So what have we got, Danny?
So I don't know, should I just read out all the testaments and the great kudos for all the series? I can just do that, I guess, and make us feel great.
That does sound delightful.
Right, there are a ton of them. Thank you guys so much for all those positive vibes there. But a couple of questions that popped up. There were a couple of folks that were interested in bilingual list. Is there an opportunity to have titles not just in Spanish, but in Haitian Creole I saw, French, Arabic. We do have a couple of series that we have in the backlist that we do publish in bilingual. I believe they're mostly board books, but I have to double check. That I can send that information along to. A few folks did provide me with their email addresses, so I can get them out to you directly. It is a great conversation to have on publishing other languages besides Spanish, such as what I mentioned, Haitian Creole, French, and Arabic. So I will be going back to the publishers, and this might actually be a deeper discussion we have with you guys specifically on what series you'd like to see in different languages besides Spanish, which we can also do, obviously, simultaneous publishing. So that I think would be the next step for a lot of our best-selling series. So we should have, Mel, maybe we should have a more specific discussion down the line in the next couple of weeks or so with some librarians that are interested in bilingual.
That sounds perfect.
And this is a more general question. Some folks just came in just a little bit late. Will there be a title list and/or slides sent out later? Mel,
100%. Absolutely. Right after this call, I meant to mention that at the beginning, but it's okay because I mention it now. I will be sending this recording out to everyone with an Excel sheet that has all of the titles on it. Good question.
Okay, and I think, let me just, lost my spot here. I think those were the questions. One person said, I'm using 2 of the Chemistry for Kids activities in a program next month. Thank you so much. Great seeing a combination of the actual book with the ancillary product. And you know what, Mel, I'm going to mute myself because I have some noise in the background here. So if you want to take it home for us.
I can definitely try. I can't see anyone's questions, but because then everyone would see everybody's questions, but that's fine. I think we're probably just about done here, but as always, any questions that you have, anything you want to follow up on, anything you want at all, if you just want to chat about books, that's what we're here for. You can reach us. I wonder if I can very easily go back to this. I can. First slide with our information on it, and I'll just leave that here so everyone can write down. I wouldn't suggest calling us. Shoot us an email. That's the best way to get in touch.
And actually, there is one question, Mel, I wanted to bring up here. What ages are the clubs based on? And I mean, it really runs the gamut from pre-K to 8th, really, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of how they were designed, was to sort of run the gambit so that there was a little bit of something for everyone. Same with Quarto Classroom, same with our downloadables, all of the downloadable resources that we have that just run, like you said, runs the gambit in terms of age.
Okay, and looks like I got to the bottom of the chats. I think that might be it on questions. So yeah, I think we're right at time. Really, we were predicting about 45 minutes to an hour for the presentation. Again, we will have a recording of the presentation. We'll have a PowerPoint and list of metadata. And those of you who are interested in specific topics, I can also build custom Edelweiss catalogs from our front list titles as well as our back list for any programs or curriculum you're looking to build.
Thank you endlessly for your support and for joining us today. And I'll be in touch with our for anybody who's on this call means you are eligible to win some books. So I'll be in touch with a few people on this call, get in touch and see what kind of books you'd like to receive for your winter pack.
All right, and I have to, this one last one, Mel, totally off topic from one of our chat folks here. I love your hair, they say.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. That's when it looked its best. That's why I used that photo.
We all do it, Quarto.
I love Danny's hair, so there you go.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, everybody. Mel put this all together, so thank you, Mel, for your hard work in getting the PowerPoint together. And we will all keep in touch with you.
Thanks again.